Greetings once again to the excellent students in PMIN897, the D.Min project design experience. I wanted to be able to come by again this evening, of course, and just welcome you and give you a sense of where we are in the coming week. So welcome to week 4. As you know, we're in module 2, which is a very, very important aspect of all that we're doing together this semester, specifically with the proposal in mind. So I wanted to start by giving you just a quote from the D.Min handbook, which is kind of our Bible. You know, it's the document that all of our instructors, certainly your chair, will end up following very closely. So this is a quote from the D.Min handbook that describes in detail the summary of the literature. So obviously, you know that this is going to end up being what we will call, in larger terms, the survey of the literature in your dissertation, chapter 2. But this is a summary, so it's designed to certainly cover all the high points of your research, identify all the major sources, etc. So here's the quote: "The doctoral candidate will have performed a literature search while identifying the problem to be solved." In other words, you've been reading and taking notes for some time already. This section should briefly summarize what others have done as related to the particular problem. It is expected, second of all, that the doctoral candidate will continue to review the literature as the research is performed as an ongoing process. So, you know, you are no doubt may encounter something that will be helpful later on as you're conducting your ministry project. It could be your chair might say, by the way, I've recently read this article in such and such a journal. Have you seen it? If not, I recommend it to you, etc. So it's a little bit of a work in progress, but we're taking a snapshot of it here in 897. Then next, to include any related D.Min dissertations and ministry projects, it could be access to the library's electronic database. Of course, one of the benefits of those dissertations are massive bibliographic information that might be relevant and helpful. Then mention other sources that will be invaluable to you in your endeavor. Be sure to cover what you believe the top sources that will inform your subject. So you definitely want to, you feel like you're highlighting in your summary all the key sources. And then finally, be sure that there is a variety of sources, of course, consulted besides books, dissertations, ministry projects, journals, of other kinds of scholarly sources. So this is a report of all the relevant research that you have been doing in the scholarly literature, both discipline specific as well as cross-disciplinary. So the summary will include the primary sources, and we had an excellent conversation about that in our last our Zoom consultation opportunity. So primary sources in the field of study and supporting fields across disciplinary fields, relevant academic secondary sources, academic sources, dissertations, theses, etc., professional journals, periodicals, peer-reviewed popular sources, that is to say peer-reviewed books, and relevant academic media sources, which can be harder to get a hold of, but you know, they're there. I already know that some of you have identified some of those. So we had a good conversation when we had our Zoom meeting about the idea of what is an academic source, what is a scholarly source, and how important is that. And so certainly what you're doing, your dissertation will be a clear example of a scholarly source. It will reflect formal academic research and writing. And so what you're doing will support that idea, it will reflect that going forward. And somebody else accesses your dissertation and they want to use it as a source, it will be, well, a good decision on their part. In terms of the outline, and of course, here in week 4, our focus is on the outline, not actually composing the summary itself, which will come up in week 5, but just on the outline. Now, please remember, formal academic research and writing is very, very structured. In fact, you will discover that almost anything that you access, if it is scholarly, quote unquote, will have a similar structure. And so because it is highly structured, that means it is significantly dependent on really good outlines. And so your ability to outline your research, outline your notes, etc., will be very, very important when it comes to this exercise, as well as the BTH foundations coming up. So organize your notes taken when accessing relevant scholarly sources in some kind of a logical order. What will a logical order look like for you? Well, it could be topical, but could be chronological. I think it'll depend entirely on your research area. Use subheadings then to indicate your organization or your outline. So summary of the literature is the primary heading. The secondary headings will all reflect the main points of your outline. The week 4 outline may be a standard outline with major headings, Roman numeral 1, capital A, capital B, etc., all of which will be the subsections of your outlines and the subheadings showing your primary sources. So one of the exercises that is good with the week 4 assignment is your ability to then organize principal sources under each heading. And we looked at an example of that again at our Zoom meeting. I've given you a copy of the literature review map, which was developed by Dr. Diane Chandler, who really adapted it from Cresswell's text. And so there's a literature review map along with a sample map in course resources. So if you're kind of visual, you like to be able to do a bit of a diagram, this can be very, very helpful. So if you think that might help you, take a look at what is there in terms of the review map and the sample map. If not, of course, you can just use a standard outline. In the end, your summary of the literature will be 10 to 12 pages reporting the main points and highlights of your research in the scholarly literature. Now, of course, there are exceptions. Again, we discussed in our Zoom meeting. The exception will be that if you took a PMIN897 under Dr. Flynn and he had you develop something a little bit more than that, kind of a preliminary review of the literature. And I say preliminary because, it's not the final chapter 2 until your chair says it is. Then you may want to go back and polish it. You may want to change it a bit. But Dr. Flynn is okay with seeing that work that you did for him in PMIN897. So that's going to be, not 10 to 12 pages. If you didn't do that for Dr. Flynn, 10 to 12 pages, because otherwise it'll tend to make your proposal too long. It will tend to make your chapter 1. So when you come back around in 899 and you have, a chair appointed to you and he or she is going to want to finally approve your chapter 1, they may ask you once again to go back and summarize and reduce it. But because Dr. Flynn is already familiar with the work you did for him in PMIN897, he's good with you including it in your proposal. So again, don't be frustrated if your chair says, that's more than we need in a proposal. Take it down to 10 to 12 pages. Be ready to do that if necessary. So the week 4 assignment is simply to develop your outline and take some time to make it, be thoughtful about it, because once you've got a really good outline, you're just going to fill it out when it comes to composing that section of the proposal. So post your summary of the literature outline in your group discussion forum, and then comment on it and learn from each other when you see examples of those carefully designed, thoughtful outlines in the discussion forum. This is not a peer review opportunity. That will come up next in chapter 5, but still I think being able to interact with one another in the discussion can be very, very helpful. So literature review is an aspect of every kind of formal academic writing. So it doesn't matter if it's a peer-reviewed journal article, obviously a dissertation, or a thesis, even a peer-reviewed a book of some kind, whatever it might be. They will all have literature reviews. You will find them in every single case. And so it's very, very important to what you are doing in our class. So the outline is first. It's going to be very important, a very excellent exercise on your part. Once you have a good outline, then it's just a matter of, in week 5, just filling it out and narrating basically your outline. So it's going to be a valuable week, a valuable learning experience for you. As always, I'm looking forward to participating with you. Be sure to let me know if you have any questions along the way. So God bless you, everybody. Just have a great week 4.